Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something really exciting. We are putting on the X-ray glasses of a seasoned portfolio manager to diagnose the current state of our markets. Look, if you've been following the news or checking your portfolio lately, you know there is this palpable sense of euphoria in the air right now. But as focused learners and strategic thinkers, we need to look way past the hype. We're going to dig into the raw data, the big macro variables, and the underlying fundamentals to see what is actually driving these valuations. And absolutely crucial here, we'll talk about how you can defensively position your cash.
So let's kick things off with a number that might just stop you right in your tracks. 0%. Think about this. If you were to receive a windfall today, say $5 million, and you decided to drop all of it into the S&P 500 right now, well, historically, high Shiller PE and CAPE PE levels suggest your projected 10-year forward returns would be exactly 0. And yes, that actually includes dividends. Valuation metrics are currently sitting at levels we literally haven't seen since the peak of the Dotcom bubble. When valuations stretch this far, mean reversion isn't just some remote possibility, it's an eventual reality we have to be ready for.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the AI valuation bubble. Then, AI spending versus realistic ROI. Third, cracks in private credit. Fourth, global pressures from oil and China. And finally, portfolio defense and managing cash.
Starting right off with Section 1, the AI valuation bubble, or what we can call the absolute peak of euphoria.
Right now, there is some staggering concentration risk out there. A massive 45% of the S&P 500 is entirely AI or AI adjacent. To break that down even further for you, the semiconductor industry alone makes up 18% of the entire S&P 500 and a whopping 30% of the Nasdaq. Meanwhile, the broader market, we're talking industrials, banks, consumer-facing companies, many of those are actually struggling or flashing warning signs. That means these entire indices are basically being held up by this one hyper-concentrated sector.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how euphoric things have become. Take a look at Micron. Just 13 months ago, it was a $60 billion market cap company. Today, it has surged past $1 trillion. Now, from a portfolio management perspective, semiconductors have notoriously cyclical boom and bust cycles. When you see parabolic moves like this, driven by massive capital expenditure pull forwards and double ordering, it historically signals an ending phase of a cycle, definitely not a beginning.
Moving right along to Section 2, AI spending versus realistic ROI. It's time to look under the hood.
So, an absolutely crucial point here is understanding how this massive infrastructure build-out is totally different from the past. Back during the late 90s dot-com bubble, the infrastructure was built by public telecom companies. You could literally read their financial statements, the numbers were totally visible. But today, the massive AI infrastructure is being driven by private hyperscalers like OpenAI and Anthropic, and their finances are completely opaque. In fact, there's a telling anecdote where Anthropic allegedly refused to show their underlying financials to lenders for an $8.6 billion debt tranche. I mean, if a company won't show its numbers for a private placement debt, that should give any investor serious pause.
And compounding that opacity is a little something called circular financing. This is an arrangement where closely tied entities basically just pass revenue back and forth. So, for example, NVIDIA sells incredibly expensive chips to OpenAI, who then turns around and sells AI services right back to Microsoft. Sure, it temporarily boosts earnings on paper, but it doesn't create true, independent, free cash flow. And the credit markets? They're starting to sniff out that the actual return on investment here might be pretty suspect. It's even forcing some tech giants to raise capital by issuing equity rather than utilizing cheaper debt. What we are watching right now is the classic tech hype cycle playing out step by step. Step 1 is the huge CapEx pull forward. That's the gold rush, where the pick and shovel makers, like the chip companies, make all the profit. Step 2 is the realization that the end customers actually aren't making money, and that leads to a pause in spending. Step 3 is the washout, where assets get repriced at pennies on the dollar. And finally, Step 4 is where true productivity is actually achieved. We saw this exact thing with railroads, we saw it with dark fiber in the 90s, and we will absolutely see it with AI. Look, AI is very real, but the hype cycle has just moved way too far, way too fast.
Let's break down the specific roadblocks facing AI profitability today. First up, token burn rates are astronomical. Companies like Uber are reportedly finding that running advanced AI tokens is actually more expensive than just retaining their human workers. Second, there's a severe gating issue with power. Data centers have been announced and chips have been bought, but many haven't even broken ground because they literally can't secure the electricity. Finally, open-source AI models are rapidly catching up. They are about 90% cheaper and offer incredible utility for businesses that honestly just don't need absolute frontier models. Which leads us to a very provocative question. If there is no realistic return on investment to the customer, why use it? Because high pricing is already causing a demand-side pause. If AI frontier labs are essentially scraping the exact same knowledge, they risk becoming just another commodity. And commodities inevitably face aggressive price wars, driving costs all the way down to the marginal level. Make no mistake, that is a massive headwind for the current trillion-dollar valuations we're seeing.
All right, let's pivot to Section 3, cracks in private credit, the hidden fault lines.
We need to talk about the fact that we are currently operating in a K-shaped economy. What this means is the top 10% of earners are driving a massive 50% of U.S. consumption. And that is masking the severe struggles of the other 90%. Below the surface, the everyday consumer is essentially tapped out. They are burning through their savings, they're heavily relying on credit cards, auto loan delinquencies are rising fast, and consumer-facing businesses inside private credit portfolios are quietly buckling under the immense pressure.
Just look at the data from the alternative asset manager Cliffwater. In Q1, they saw 14% of their fund requested for redemption. In Q2, that number jumped to 17%. In their response, they gated redemptions. They literally capped them at just 5%. When private credit funds start locking the doors to prevent capital flight, it's a glaring, screaming signal that the marginal credit creation engine is stuttering and systemic stress is seriously building up.
Next up, Section 4, global pressures. Specifically, looking at oil and China.
First, let's talk about oil. Regardless of all the geopolitical jawboning you hear on the news, the raw numbers are incredibly concerning. Sustained oil prices around $100 a barrel effectively neutralize any recent consumer tax breaks. To the everyday consumer, an oil shock acts as an immediate 40% tax hike at the pump. And with strategic petroleum reserves running dangerously low globally, sustained high prices directly correlate to rapid demand destruction across the lower and middle economy, often within just months.
Let's move to China and see how this builds, because this demand destruction really accelerates when we look at our second global pressure. We often hear this narrative that China's economy is inevitably going to overtake the US. But priced in US dollars, their GDP has actually dropped. It went from 80% of the US in 2020 down to just 60% today. Their demographics completely peaked back in 2015, and their massive infrastructure boom, the one that kept the global economy afloat for years, is rapidly reversing. Real estate construction is down 8% year over year. As China enters this hidden deflationary spiral and struggles with internal consumption, the risk of Asian and global trade contagion goes way, way up.
Finally, Section 5, portfolio defense, bringing it all together to talk about managing your cash.
First off, we have to remember this fundamental truth. Bubbles are a feature of capitalism, not a bug. They are literally the mechanism by which massive infrastructure gets built, like the railroads or the internet, even if the early investors get completely washed out in the process. Market resets are a perfectly natural cycle, and honestly, this is exactly why legendary investors like Warren Buffett are reportedly holding up to 40% of their portfolios in cash right now. Think about that. They aren't panicking. They are just patiently preparing for the washout so they can swoop in and buy phenomenal assets at a massive discount. So, the golden question: how do you actually identify the bottom? Well, markets rarely crash in a straight line from all-time highs. Instead, you need to patiently watch for this specific sequence of events. Stage 1, you'll see a 15 to 20% drawdown from the market peak. Stage 2, there's a counter-trend rally, where everyone suddenly thinks the pain is over. And then, Stage 3, that rally fails, breaking below the previous lows, which confirms a true cycle reset. That exact sequence, that is your signal to start looking at redeploying all that dry powder you've been saving.
Which leaves us with this final, powerful thought to carry with you. When the inevitable cycle resets, and it will you have the cash ready to build generational wealth in the rubble? Because make no mistake, true productivity will eventually emerge from this AI bubble, just exactly as it did from the Dotcom crash. Your job, as a focused learner and a smart investor, isn't to chase the euphoria at the very top. It's to preserve your capital, ignore all the noise, and be completely ready when the real opportunities present themselves. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Stay focused out there, and I will see you next time.